All right, so we have here a repository that it's in need of containerization. It is doing a little bit of AI. It has, let's actually go and take a look. We're going to go into the web app. It's a Python application. It has just one file, and it's using, well, a fairly old model here. So GPT-2, and it's a fast API, uses the fast API framework, and we're going to actually try to containerize these. It has the AI model within, and it's a fairly simple, straightforward Python application that is related to AI. So let's see what we're going to do here. We're going to go all the way to the top. It has some requirements that text, so we can install some dependencies, a Docker file. It is a container anyway. And what we're going to do is, well, start working with GitHub Copilot so that we can see if it can help us out trying to build some automation so some of these things will happen automatically. So I'm going to switch tabs here. I have Visual Studio Code. I am using Codespaces, which is Visual Studio Code on the web with some remote compute on the cloud. It is just like if I was using Visual Studio Code directly. And in this case, I have GitHub Copilot chat right here. And I am going to be asking questions about this machine learning repository that I have, that I'm working with. Everything's ready for me to go. But let's just assume that I need to really go ahead and build some automation. And I want to build the automation with GitHub Actions. So that's one particular thing. So you can see here I have many different pieces. I have the main.py file, the Docker file, some requirements.txt, and I want to build things with, or the automation with GitHub Actions. And I'm going to containerize it. The automation is going to help me containerize this whole project. So one of the first things I'm going to ask GitHub Copilot is let's see if GitHub Copilot can give me some guidance. Can you give me some guidance to use GitHub Actions and help me containerize this project automatically and push it to a container registry? And let's see what it comes with. So in this case, pretty fast, GitHub Copilot is going to give me not only a good and solid response, but also some context on what are some of the steps that I should consider when I need to put this into this code. So let's take a look. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. Perfect. So we have the Docker file here. It tells me, well, this is kind of like what you should be doing. Now, remember, I already have a Docker file, so this is already I'm already ahead of what I need to do. Perfect. The next thing, which is one of the important things, is this create a GitHub Actions workflow. Perfect. So that's kind of like what I'm interested in, and it tells me that I need to create this .github workflows Docker dash publish the YAML file in your repository, and it has all of the content. So this looks kind of correct. So how about, and it tells me like if I want to put it into Docker Hub, I will need some usernames and passwords and tokens. That's fine. And then we'll take a look at what we can do later. So in this case, it thinks that I want to go to Docker Hub, which is Docker offers a container registry, which is called Docker Hub. In this case, I am not going to do Docker Hub. I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to ask Copilot to suggest if I can get an update to this. But so far, I would say almost all of these looks correct. I'm going to close the requirements.txt file here, and I'm going to follow the directions here. So it says .github/workflows, right? So I'm going to copy the contents, and then I'm going to go to the file explorer. And I'm going to say I'm going to create. So let's close this one. I'm going to create a directory, and that is going to be that. It's going to be that GitHub, and then workflows, and within workflows, I'm going to create a file called, I'm going to click this button, called, I'm going to call it main.yaml. I tend to like main.yaml because it allows me to have exactly what I want. I'm going to paste the contents from what we copied over. I'm going to close this one out. And then we have this file that looks pretty good. Now, let's review what some of the steps here. So we have, we're going to run on Ubuntu. We're going to have, we're going to check out the code. We're going to set up the Docker dependencies. We're going to authenticate to Docker Hub, and then we're going to push it. Now, there's a way that I can do this with GitHub, the GitHub platform itself. I don't necessarily need to use Docker Hub. So let's ask GitHub Copilot and say, we can actually select all of this and say, this looks great, but I would like to use GitHub's container registry. So the container registry is actually called ghcr.io. Help me update this YAML file, part of the GitHub action, and make it work with ghcr.io, which again, it's the GitHub container registry. So let's take a look at some of the things that we will get. So that looks correct. The GitHub token was updated not a very long time ago, so we can actually use just use this and make the update. So let's take a look. We are being asked if it's ghcr.io, so the registry is going to change. The actor and the token looks correct. Actually, this part right here where it says GitHub token can be just be token, which is fine. You know, you're not going to get 100% of everything absolutely done correctly. And but I'm going to go and press this button to make that make those updates for me. So like I said, let's actually remove this one out, and then I'm gonna save it. And I am not, you can actually make this not push and actually just prevent that pushing. But if you wanted to push that and make that container push to the container registry, you could put that to true. So in this case, because I'm testing it out, I am just going to leave it like that. Now, repo name latest doesn't sound correct. And what I'm going to do is actually add here, I'm going to say, I'm going to ask Copilot with an inline chat. I'm going to say, can you create a step to lowercase the repo name and username so that I can use it as a variable in the tags when pushing. So let's see what it comes up with. And that looks kind of correct. So I'm just going to accept that. So what it does there, it's adding these variables, and that looks pretty good to me. So now you can see how this repo name is now here, and we have latest there. Perfect. So that's pretty good. I'm not going to push because I will have to change a lot of settings in my repository, but I'm going to see if this will actually do exactly what I need to do. So I'm going to save it. You can see here, source control has detected that I have some uncommitted changes. So I'm going to add them. And in this case, I'm going to use this magical button here from GitHub Copilot with the integration with Visual Studio Code to generate a commit. So I'm going to add that, and I'm going to commit and push. And once I do that, I don't want to periodically git pull. I'm going to go here to the actions, back to my repository, go to actions, and I'm going to reload these. And I don't have that. It doesn't seem like I have this working. So let's take a look at perhaps some of the things that I'm missing here. So we have. So the problem is that, do you see that GitHub/workflows? So this should not go under web app. So instead of me working with Visual Studio Code, I am going to use the terminal. And I'm going to make sure that that is in the right space. So you can see that web app has that. Do you see that GitHub right there? So we're going to move that. And this is a pretty important step here. So we're going to move that GitHub. We're going to move it one directory up. So there we go. And now the source control is correctly going to detect that I have some changes. Yes, let's add them all and use our magical commit. Well, it can't generate one. It doesn't matter. Moved some files. I'm going to say I'm going to want to commit and push. Now this should allow us to see things in our repository. I'm going to reload. And let's take a look here. We have everything we need. So we have GitHub workflows. We have our main.yaml in here, and that looks correct. So let's take a look. We now have the actions button working, and now we have some failures. So let's take a look at what's going on here. And in here, well, what we will see is I have an error in my YAML on line 27. Let's very quickly change that. We no longer need this. Line 27 will be this one. Just for the sake, and I think there's an indentation problem here, but that's fine. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to save it just because we want to go super quickly with this one. Let's see if GitHub will help us there. Yeah, I just removed that. I'm going to commit and push. And then because I have this with automation, I am going to go back to the repository to actions, and I'm going to see if this will work now. And no, it doesn't look like it liked that one. So let's take a look again, and let's see what's going on. So what we have here, it is basically something that is related to an invalid syntax. So we still have a problem on line 27. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So it's right here. And let's take a look at what's going on. So what's going on is that this width should be pushed like that. I'm going to save it. And I am going to commit and push once again. Actually, I forgot to add this file. There we go, commit and push. Thank you, Visual Studio Code, for reminding me that I'm being silly. And I'm going to go here. Actions should have picked that. And now this is failing again. So I think we need to pause here for a second while I figure out why this is not working. So we pushed our changes, we had some syntax errors, we fixed those, and now we have this running. You can see that I tried many different times. This is normal with automation. Things don't tend to go right the first time around. Even now we have some failures, but having failures is good. So let's take a look at the logs, and we are going to see that we weren't able to log into the GitHub container registry. That's fine. A username and password is required. In this case, I didn't want to push. I just wanted to build. So this is perfectly acceptable. And this is fine. Once again, if I go back here, you can see that the registry is correct. The username, GitHub.actor, and actually, this is going to be not secret.token, but GitHub.token. So if I save that, and I reload and I commit and push, you will be able to see that this actually works correctly, and it triggers once again the action. So if I'm going to go one last time, and if it fails, it's okay. This is a normal process. You will have to figure out looking at the log files. But all in all, we only want to have this automatically. And can you see that this is happening and triggering automatically? This is normal, and that's exactly how I configured these GitHub Actions. So you will see that this will go and do many different things. In this case, finally, it is building the container. It has and this is going to take a very long time, and we're not going to wait until it does, because it's going to be pulling down that container. So these are part of the logs, and at the end, it will make sure that everything builds and everything works correctly. So great. We use GitHub Copilot today to look at a repository, see how we can use GitHub Actions. We made some mistakes in between because we got YAML that wasn't perfect. We removed some things, we edit some things, we fixed those syntax errors, and in the end, now we have something that, well, is actually working automatically. Why would we want to do this? Because in this case, it will allow us to have the confidence that things are actually working. And while I was giving that recap, you can see that finally we have a big green check and things are finally working. That's it.